let's dive into cash collection and how do we accelerate the our cash. And I'm going to start off by asking you a question. So we're going to look at it from two aspects. Given that I don't have a guest speaker, I can talk about whatever I want. So we'll look at it from our perspective first, as accounting firms, and how we can make sure that we don't have problems with our own cash collection. Because I believe that if we're going to start helping our clients to improve their businesses, like cash flow, for example, and collecting cash, then we've got to do these things first. We have to practice what we preach. We can't be great business consultants if we have a lousy business. So you should always treat your accounting firm or your bookkeeping firm as your number one client. It's your most important client. You need to be applying the things that we talk about to yourself first. Just like next week when we run the Biz Advisory Masterclass, all the things we'll talk about there, you should be doing yourself internally as well. So we're going to look at, I thought we'll talk about our own firms first. Let's get our own firms sorted, and then we'll look at how can we perhaps help our clients with cash collection. While the countdown music was playing, I pulled together some thoughts because I had a feeling that Dee wouldn't be showing up, so I'm on my own today. And so I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to think right now about your own business, and think about how much money are you owed right now. So if you think about your balance sheet and the accounts receivable, debtors as we call it in the UK, think about how much money you have that you are owed at this point in time. And I don't want you to disclose the amounts, keep that to yourself. But what I would like you to do is tell me in the comments box, the chat box, tell me how you would feel if all that money that was owed to you tomorrow morning was in your bank account. If all that money was in your bank account, how would you feel if it was suddenly cash in your pocket or money in your bank account? I'd be interested. I do see there are some people who are already telling me they have no money owed, and they're people that don't surprise me in the slightest, because they're the people like the amazing Jessica Fox, who is one of my star students. She has 0 accounts receivable, doesn't surprise me. Another member of the Value Pricing Academy is Lynn James, and she has 0 right now, and Lisa has 0. So congratulations to you. But Gary from San Francisco, he said he would be elated if he had all of that money in his bank account instead. And I'll see what else comes through in the comments. But let me tell you my experience. I started my accounting firm as a sole practitioner back in May 1996. And looking back, I had no idea how to run a professional accounting firm. I made a complete mess for 2.5 years, doing everything wrong. My pricing was wrong, the way I hired people was wrong, and one of the things that was wrong was cash collection. You see, the way I did things in my accounting firm was, I think, the way that many people did, and some still do. And that is, we would do the work because we're keen to do the work. We get the work done. And back then, I was logging the hours that I'd spend on my timesheets. And then when the work was finished, I'd go and get my work in progress report to see the number of hours that I'd spent. And I would raise a nice little invoice, which would tell the client the work I'd done, the hours I'd spent, and it would total up. And I would send that in the mail. We had the mail back then. I'm sure these days you might use email, but we had the mail back in the 1990s. Some of you may remember that. And I would send it out, and I would keep my fingers crossed. And I would keep my fingers crossed, hoping that they would adhere to my payment terms. I think it was something like, please pay within 14 days. And some did. Most didn't. And some never ever paid. So we have, in the UK, we call it bad debts. That's when you write off some of your accounts receivable because you know you will never collect the money because the business has gone out of business. And every year I wrote off thousands of pounds that I wasn't able to collect. It was extremely stressful for me. Cash flow was a constant nightmare. I was always every week chasing money because I was up against the limit on the overdraft facility. For 2.5 years, I made every mistake you could possibly think of. And then in the fourth year of my business, 3 years down the line, I started to change things. And I started changing the way that I got paid. So one of the things I realized was that we are in the service industry. We're in the service industry. And in the service industry, it's normal to get paid up front. For example, or at least before everything's before the completion of everything. So, for example, you think about services. You take your car in to be repaired, or it's annual service. You take your car in. When the work's done and you go to collect the keys, they don't give you the keys until you've written the check. You pay them before you walk out of the auto repair shop. You go to the dentist to have your annual checkup or your 6-monthly checkup, and the dentist does their thing with your teeth. You go down to reception to book the next appointment, and you also, at that point in time, you pay for the work that was done that day. They don't send you an invoice to pay later. You pay straight away. And we're all used to that. That's the way that the service industry works. If you think about your utilities, whether it's gas, electricity, certainly in the UK, you tend to pay by monthly recurring payments every month. You get the telephone, you use the telephone, and you pay at the same time. They don't give you credit. And so in the year 2000, I was 3.5 years into my accounting firm. I decided that what I would do is change the way that I asked for money. Now, the interesting thing is, and some of you know my story, that I priced completely wrong, and I changed the way that I priced at the same time. I started giving people a price up front. I started moving to value pricing in my accounting firm. And in 2000, I started going to all of my clients and tell them I was changing the way that I was pricing. And I also was telling them that I was changing the way that I was going to get paid. But I was a little bit of a coward because I was really worried that if I asked for money up front from all of my clients, I would lose lots of them. And so I put in place a system where for some of my clients, I asked for money up front. And for some, I said, give me half up front and half at the end. Right at 50% in advance, 50% when the work's done. And there was an interesting situation where I had one particular client who was always a funny client. I got on with him. He was I liked him, but he complained a lot about so many things. And so I said to him in the letter, I said, pay me 50% up front and 50% at the end, rather than all of it up front. Anyway, I remember the day he came in with his big box of books and records. This is before the days of cloud accounting and everything was manual. He gave me his box and records and he said to me, Mark, this seems odd asking for 50% up front and then the rest at the end. And I'm thinking, okay, a complaint coming. But he said, I can't be bothered with that. Can I just write your check now for the full amount? Yes, if you want to. He gave me the full amount up front. And I learned that actually our clients are happy to pay us up front. The only ones that aren't are the ones that can't afford to. And the ones that can't afford to, you shouldn't be acting for because they're the ones that may never pay you. And I then learned years later, as I got into value pricing, I started studying price psychology. And when I was looking into price psychology, I started to realize that there's actually a psychology behind paying. And there's been a lot of research that's been carried out, which shows that actually people prefer to pay up front. They prefer to pay up front, which I know sounds weird, but when you think about it, that's kind of how a lot of us now pay for things. The subscription economy is taken off, and we pay for so many things on subscription. And the reason that we like subscriptions, for example, is because it lessens the payment pain. What we learn from psychology, and I think it was some research going way back to 1999 by, I think it was Preluk and Look, and they talked about payment pain. And one of the things that they discovered was that when we feel a sense of pain when we take money out of our pocket, when we write out the check. But if we do it in advance and get that out the way, we then enjoy the thing that we experience more. And an example I got thinking about was when we book our vacations. When you book a vacation, let's say you want to book a cruise, very often the way it works is you book your cruise and you pay at least a deposit, and then the final amount way before you go on the vacation, on the cruise. By the time you go on the cruise, everything's paid for in the past. And so we enjoy the vacation so much more because we're not worried about the bill at the end of the process. And that got me thinking, it makes so much sense. And that's partly why the subscription economy is so great. We subscribe to Netflix, but then once we pay the subscription, we forget about the payments. We just enjoy the thing. We enjoy Netflix. We enjoy it knowing that we won't get a bill at the end of every single thing that we watch. So people generally prefer to get the payment out of the way. And so I would advocate to you in your accounting firms that you do not have accounts receivable. You don't have debtors, as we call it, in the UK, because it's a crazy way to do business. So I'm just looking at some of the, see if there are any questions that come into the chat box. There aren't any questions yet, so let me carry on. Let's think about, again, our firms for a minute, our own firms, and then we'll start to look at clients. So, and it's great that some of you don't have any money owed to you. You've already made that transition. But if you have got money owed to you, then you need to change the way that you do business. Change the way that you do business. And one of the key things you want to do is manage people's expectations right up front. Every time you take on board a brand new client, explain to them as part of your initial conversation, as part of your onboarding process, the way that they pay you. And many of the firms that I work with in the Value Pricing Academy now get paid by monthly recurring payments, which is a great way. It's a great way to run your business because cash becomes predictable. The cash just comes in every single month. You can predict. It makes running a business so much easier. Not only does it make it easier, but it also helps you build a more profitable business and a more valuable business. Because as my friend John Warlow, the author of Built to Sell, he said that he focuses on and helps people build sellable businesses. The number one thing that impacts on the value of your business when you come to sell is recurring revenue. The more recurring revenue you have, the more people will pay for buying that business, which is another reason why the subscription economy has gone crazy and there are so many subscription-based businesses now. You can subscribe to pretty much anything that you can think of. And one of the great things about a subscription business is cash flow, is not having money owed to you. So if you have this as a problem in your own firms, we have to fix our own firms first, remember. If you have money owed to you, then the first thing to do is change the way that you do business, change your business model and ask for money up front, like I did back in the year 2000. And interestingly, going back to that story, when I started asking for money up front, I didn't lose a single client as a result of that. I lost a few because I put my prices up quite significantly, but nobody left because they had to pay up front, which I thought was interesting. And I've had many more people in the Value Pricing Academy tell me the same thing, that they now get paid up front every month. They don't have accounts receivable or debtors, and people are happy to do that. So just make a decision, just change the way that you do business and then just communicate it with every client. And one of the things I suggest you do is words are so important. The words that you use, the way you describe your way of doing business, describe it in terms of the benefit to the client. So you might use language like, one of the ways that we do business is clients pay us by automatic payments. In the UK, you might use direct debits. In the US, it might be ACH. Our clients pay by monthly payments. And they tell us they love that because it means that they don't get a big bill at the end. It means they can plan, they can budget, they can manage their cash flow. And clients love that. So we focus on the positive, because if you think about it, if your clients have been used to paying at the end in the past and now they're paying you in advance, they're actually, it's in your interest, not theirs. So but nevertheless, when we use the right language to describe the benefit to them, by spreading the payments, by paying in advance, they can budget, they have complete certainty over the amounts they need to pay. It makes their life easier. Okay, let's have a look at, I think we have a question coming. I think we'll deal with the question, and then I think what I'll do is let's talk a little bit then about how you might help your clients with cash collection. Okay, question. I think the first question that's come in. I've not read it yet, so let me see. It's Charles. What does Charles say? Just bear with me a second. But I know of some accounting firms which do not charge anything initially, say for the first 6 months or year, and then charge a monthly subscription after that. What are your thoughts on this? That's an interesting one, Charles. I've never come across that. So you're saying that some firms don't charge anything for an initial period, which I guess is a bit like a try before you buy, a free initial period. I think try before you buy is an interesting idea, and I think it can work with some types of businesses, and some types of businesses do that. It's a bit like, for example, when you buy a car, you get to go on a test drive first. So try before you buy is an interesting idea. I'm not sure that it's appropriate for an accounting firm to give, I think you say for the first 6 months or year. I think personally, I don't think that accounting firms should be giving 6 to 12 months worth of their service for free. Because there's this, for a couple of reasons. Number one is there's this thing that you may have heard of. People don't value what they get for free. It's a bit like, I do a lot of courses. I learn a lot all the time. I buy video training courses, and sometimes I get courses for free. Sometimes I buy courses for $97. Sometimes I pay $2,000 for a course. And when I acquire a training course, the ones that I get for free, I kind of assume they're not necessarily that good, and I'm busy anyway, and I'll get around to watching it one day. One day I'll watch that course and work through it, but not now. But if I just spent $2,000 on a video training course, I've spent money. I will block out the time to work through it, to implement it. And at the end of it, because I've worked through it, implemented the ideas, I've come away thinking, wow, that was such good value. That's really helping my business. So sometimes I think it can be a disservice to give people too much free stuff because they don't value what they get for free. So I hope that makes sense, Charles. If you're delivering value to your clients, I think you should be charging. Okay, an interesting comment from John over in Canada. He says, I hope that helped, Charles, by the way. He said, it's crazy, as a CPA in Quebec, Canada, we can't ask for the full amount before the work. Anything but not 100%. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Is that just Quebec, or is it the whole of Canada? I didn't think it's the whole of Canada, but let me know. And Charles says, great, so thank you for that. Okay, let's move on to part 2. And for anybody who's joined late, if you joined late and are wondering why you're seeing me here, we are supposed to have a guest speaker, Dr. Dee Bowden. She hasn't showed up, as you can see. She's not here. I have no idea why. So I'm kind of winging it a bit, trying to deliver as much value as possible and trying to keep on topic with cash collection. So I hope you've got something out of it so far. Although for those of you that have got no accounts receivable on your balance sheet, probably that wasn't so useful because you're doing it all right so far. But let's think about now. Let's imagine that we have sorted out our own accounting firms. We now have got we've got 0 accounts receivable. If we now think about our clients, and from my own experience when I've been doing business advisory in the past in my accounting firm, I've come across clients that are often struggling with cash flow. They have no idea about collecting money, and it's certainly a valuable service that we can offer. So I said to you earlier, next week we are running the Business Advisory Masterclass where I'll be teaching you how to offer business advisory services. And we'll talk about the different types of advisory work that you could do. We'll focus mainly next week on this idea of how do we help clients build more profitable businesses, how do we help them increase their profits, and therefore the value of their businesses. But actually there's many different types of business advisory that we could do, and you could absolutely run a service where you simply focus on a narrow area of helping clients to improve their cash flow by collecting cash, giving advice, whether that's consulting work, advising them how to collect cash, or whether you even want to go down the route of being a credit collection agency and collect it on their behalf. Personally, I don't think I would do that if I was an accounting firm. I'd want to focus just simply on the consulting side, giving them the advice on how to reduce accounts receivable, how to get cash in quicker, and help them put in place the right systems. So I'm going to give you a few thoughts on how you might do that. And then what we'll do, probably about 5 or 10 minutes, I'll give you some thoughts. And then what we'll do is I'll see what questions we've got. For those of you who are brand new, who have never been to one of my live streams before, these sessions are always 60 minutes. We have a hard finish on the hour. We sometimes go over by a minute or two when we've got loads of content. Usually when it's Emily and I talking about AI and ChatGPT, we have so much to share. We'll probably overrun next Monday. But anyway, today's session, we might finish early. Okay, I'm just giving you a heads up now. We might finish early because our guest speaker isn't here. So let me just see what comments we've got, and then I'll share a couple of thoughts with you on how you might start to think about helping your clients with cash collection. So what comments have come in? Linda says, as a customer of CPA services, I can say a buy before you pay offering would make me doubt their credibility. I think you're referring to what Charles was saying about, some free, get a free period, the initial trial. Yes, I agree. So Janine does say, I think it's just Quebec. So Jean, you need to move, I think. That might help you if you move out of Quebec. Or could you set up a satellite office somewhere else in a different jurisdiction and then get your cash collection up front? just a thought. Jean's come back and said in Quebec it's the civil code and the rest of Canada is the common law. Okay, I didn't know that. I just learned that. Okay, so Quebec is different to the rest of Canada. Interesting. So how do we help clients with cash collection? Well, I'm not the expert. Dr. D, who is supposed to be here, is the expert. However, I do have an expert sat on my desk right now that can help with this. So as the countdown music was playing at the start, I thought I'd go to my newest employee. Some of you will know who that is. I have some amazing people that work for me, Emily, of course, and Gabby and Tasha and Sarah. But we also have another employee working for us, and that employee is ChatGPT. So those of you who haven't been to one of our live streams on it, if you haven't, you need to, because this is having such a huge impact on the way that we do things. And we use it every single day. I don't know if Emily's still here in the comments box or whatever, but I know she's using it every day, and we're sharing stuff all the time, things that we've come across. In fact, just today, she sent me a couple of emails of things that accountants could do with ChatGPT as we're preparing for Monday's session. So as the countdown was playing today, I thought, let me go and ask my ChatGPT employee a couple of questions around cash collection. So if I just switch across right now to here, so I just went into ChatGPT, and by the way, I know that you've all come here to learn about cash collection, and some people probably don't know what ChatGPT is. If you don't, please ask. Just ask. I will answer the questions. Put those 2 capital Qs in front and ask me any questions you have. I will do my best to answer them if I can. If you don't ask me questions, I can't help you. So anything in your mind that you're not sure about, please just ask. So this is ChatGPT. If you've not seen it, tell me, and I'll give you a bit more of a background. But I simply went into it just before we went live, and I typed in a question. I said, I want you to act as my cash recovery specialist, because I'm not. Dr. D. Bowden is, but I'm not. So I said, I want you to act as my cash recovery specialist, and I want you to please provide me with a step-by-step guide to collecting money I am owed. So I did that, and within a matter of seconds, it came out with this step-by-step guide. And so this is something that if you want to start helping your clients recover cash, then and you want to build a consulting service around helping clients with that, then this is going to be a great tool to help you. And we're going to have some fun with this because I've got a couple of pre-prepared things, and then we'll just have a bit of fun and see what else we can do with this as we build up a cash collection recovery service that we can offer to our clients. Anyway, it said, sure, I can provide some, and I can see a question from Maida, I think it is. I will answer that question in a second. Sure, I can provide some general guidance on how to recover money that you're owed. Please keep in mind that laws and regulations may vary by location, so you should consult with a local professional or lawyer for specific advice. So a great point on that is when you are using ChatGPT, the quality of the outputs, the responses, is determined by the quality of the prompts, the questions you ask. And so a better question, mine wasn't a great question, but if you were to say, please provide me with a step-by-step guide to collecting money, tell ChatGPT what jurisdiction you're in. You might be in Quebec, so you might say, what's the rules, what's the civil code in Quebec, and you'll get a different answer to somebody who types in exactly that same prompt but says, I'm in the UK, please act as my cash recovery specialist and please provide me with a step-by-step guide to collecting money in the UK. So the more specific you are with the question, the better the answer you'll get. Now, before I go back to that, Maida, if I pronounce that right, says, what is ChatGPT? So very, very quickly, ChatGPT is a large language model. It was founded by OpenAI back in 2015 by people like Sam Altman. Elon Musk was one of the original founders, although he left, he fell out. And it was made, after they trained the model, it was released to the public to further train it in November 2022. And it's taking the world by storm. If you've not heard of ChatGPT, then you must come along to our live stream on Monday, because this is going to fundamentally change the way that you work. AI is coming along. It's changing at such a fast pace. So ChatGPT is simply the tool that was created by OpenAI. There are other large language models. This one is the biggest one, the best one. In fact, it was released in November 2022. It took the world by storm, so much so that in January of this year, Microsoft invested $10 billion in ChatGPT. And they have incorporated it into Bing. The Bing search engine that we thought was a dinosaur is now really worrying Google. Google has their own large language model called Palm 2, which powers Bard. So if you use Google, you'll notice Bard. But in all of the tests that Emily and I have done, Google are way behind ChatGPT. So essentially ChatGPT, think of it as a personal assistant. You ask it questions and it'll go away and it'll come back then with suggestions based on data that was used to train the model in the first place since 2015, and also based on what it's been learning from hundreds of millions of users since November 2022. It's extraordinary, some of the things it's doing. And you'll find out more on Monday when we do a live stream. So Maida, I hope that helps. But if you've got more questions, please ask. You absolutely do need to get yourself a subscription to it because it's incredible. I'm going to ask at this point, Emily, if you're there, could you post the link to our YouTube video that we both did on how to get your ChatGPT, the step-by-step guide on setting up ChatGPT. So for anyone who's not got an account yet, go and watch the video that Emily will put in the link. Get yourself an account and start playing around with it. You can get a free account. Play with the free version. I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend that you upgrade to the pro version, because the premium version is much, much better. But the free one's great as well. Caroline, what time on Monday? Same time as this. We do all of our live streams at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 4 o'clock UK time. So let's go back. So where was I? So I wanted to add to my cash recovery specialist, please provide me with a step-by-step guide. And so it's come up with, here's what it's come up with. It says, number one, identify the debt. Make sure you have all the details about the debt, who owes you money, how much they owe, what it's for, and when it was supposed to be paid. document any agreements that you have in writing or any relevant communication. Great, that makes perfect sense as a first step with helping your clients collect the money they're owed. Make direct contact before taking any official steps, like, I guess, hiring a lawyer. Try reaching out to the person who owes you money. It's possible they simply forgot or they're facing financial difficulties. So you could use this as your agenda for a meeting with a client that's struggling with collecting cash. You could turn this into a report. Sending a formal letter, that would be a great and sensible third step. Then number 4, perhaps negotiate a payment plan. I'm not going to read it all out to you. You can play with ChatGPT and get your own version. Then if that fails, mediation or arbitration, then it might be the small claims court. Although, of course, put your jurisdiction in the question, like we said earlier. Then step 7 might be to hire a collection agency or a lawyer. Number 8, court judgment. Number 9, finally, if that fails, then you write off the debt. So that's I think, an interesting 9-step process that you could walk your client through and help them to write a system based on that, possibly. So one of the things about those of you that don't use ChatGPT, I said think of it as your personal assistant. So unlike doing a Google search, for example, as you build up the chat, it remembers things that happen, earlier things that you prompted. So we might want to ask another question. I might say, maybe you've got a client that's got some real problems with collecting money. So you might say something like, please give me 10 strategies I can use in my business that will ensure my customers pay me on time. So if you've got clients with a big problem, you might want to have a consulting session where you share with them ideas, strategies, things they can do to get their customers to pay them on time. And so let's see what ChatGPT is suggesting, and then we can use these ideas as part of our consulting session. Okay, so it's saying, ensuring prompt payment from customers can significantly enhance your business's cash flow, absolutely, reduce stress, and allow you to focus on growing your enterprise. Here are 10 strategies to help your customers pay you on time. Number 1, set clear payment terms. Absolutely. So one of the things that you could do is, if you're doing consulting work for a client, you could review their payment terms. What are their payment terms? Can you help them improve them? Are they clear? Another strategy is to offer various payment methods. The more ways that you can give a customer to pay, the easier you make it to pay, the more likely you'll get paid. You could incentivize. Another strategy might be to incentivize prompt payment. Consider offering early payment discounts to customers who pay their invoices before the due date. This can motivate customers to pay quicker to receive a better deal. For some businesses, some of your clients, that would be a great idea. Invoice promptly. Don't delay sending out your invoices. The sooner you invoice your customers after a service or product is delivered, the sooner you'll get paid. Absolutely. I know that when I was in practice many years ago, some of the large manufacturing clients, they would do their invoice runs at the end of the month. And therefore, you've built in up to 30 days where you're not collecting cash because you're not raising the invoice till the end of the month. So that's crazy. Send payment reminders. That's another strategy you could use. You could implement a credit policy. So it says if you don't already have one, create a credit policy that outlines your terms for extending credit to customers, including payment terms and interest charges. You could perform credit checks to make sure that the person, before you take on the customer, what's their credit rating? So you could perform credit checks. You could establish a follow-up procedure. You could build stronger relationships with your customers. The stronger the relationships, the more likely they'll pay you. And you could use technology. There are various financial management software and apps that can automate invoicing, send reminders, provide real-time tracking of accounts receivables, and streamline your entire payment process. So there's 10 great ideas that I got in a matter of seconds while the countdown music was playing. And there's 10 simply because I asked for 10. I could have asked for more, but I'm sure you could see that if you were doing a 60-minute consulting session with a client to help them, you could probably find that going through that list of 10, you could easily have a 60-minute consulting session exploring each of those possibilities with the client. And here's those of you that haven't seen ChatGPT, you can build on the conversation. So I might say, that's a great list. Can you give me 3 more? Okay, so if you decide there's not enough there, we can ask for more. Let's see what it does. So here we go. Absolutely. Here are 3 more strategies to ensure timely payment from your customers. Advance payment or deposit. That's a great one. We've been talking about that. So for larger projects or orders, consider making for percentage of payment up front, etc. Number 12, installment payment plans. Again, we've talked about that. And that's a great one. Getting paid by ACH, recurring payment, direct debit, standing order, whatever. And personalized communication. What's it saying there? Personalize your communication with customers, especially those who have a history of late payment. Phone call can sometimes be more effective than an email. Yes, absolutely it can. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So what else could we do if you are looking to help your clients with cash recovery, and perhaps you want to run a service? What else could we do? And I haven't thought this through because I'm kind of making this up on the spot, but I want to show you, and really for those of you that don't use ChatGPT on a daily basis, which you should, which some of you do, we could build on this. So I might say, I am an accountant and I want to offer my clients a consulting service where I give them advice and help them with their processes around cash recovery, cash collection. Okay, we'll go with that. Normally I would think a little bit more carefully about the prompts, the words. So I might say, so I'm an accountant. I want to offer my clients a consulting service where I give them advice and help them with the processes around collection. I want you to act as my marketing consultant and help me write a sales page for this service. Let's just see what it comes up with. So if you're going to make this a service, you want to create a sales page, a landing page. You might want to create a written brochure and so on. So if you're not good at writing sales copy, here we go. Absolutely. Here's a general idea of what a sales page for your consulting services around cash collection might look like. Title, Unlock Your Business Potential with Efficient Cash Collection. Subtitle, Expert Accounting Consultancy for Improved Cash Flow Management. Are you struggling with late payments from your customers? Are overdue invoices causing cash flow hiccups? As a business owner, we know you have better things to focus on. That's why we're here to help. At ABC Accountants, we offer expert advice and solutions for effective cash collection designed to streamline your payment processes and enhance your business's financial health. Here's what we offer: cash collection consultancy. With our deep knowledge of accounting principles and cash collection strategies, we'll guide you to optimize your receivables, reduce late payments, and ensure a steady cash flow. Tailored strategies. Every business is unique, and so should be their cash collection strategy. We provide personalized advice tailored to your specific business needs and customer base. Process implementation support. We don't just advise, we assist you in implementing the changes, from setting up payment reminders to structuring installment plans. We're here to guide you every step of the way. Ongoing support. Our relationship doesn't end once the strategies are in place. We offer ongoing support to ensure the tactics we've implemented continue to deliver results. Why choose us? Experience, comprehensive approach, dedicated service, and so on. That, I don't know, I think that's a pretty good, there's some pretty good text there for a sales page or a brochure. And how long does that take? About 30 seconds, okay? So those of you that aren't using ChatGPT, it's what's called a large language model. One of the things it's particularly good at is written stuff. One of the things that Emily and I teach on these live streams a lot, it's particularly good for marketing. If you want to create sales copy, if you want to create words for your website, if you want to write blog posts, content, it's really, really powerful at written stuff, at words. And so we'll talk about more of that another day. It's also very powerful for doing business advisory, and we'll talk about next week when we run the business advisory masterclass, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Emily and I will both be we'll be doing a few segments of the training where we'll talk about how you can use ChatGPT for your business advisory service. Right, I might come up with something. We've got 14 minutes. So I'm having fun with this. I'm going to come up with something else perhaps in a bit, but let me see what comments and questions we've got. I'm not sure what the comment is. Ask AI by Codeway, but there's so ChatGPT is a large language model. There are a huge number of plugins and many pieces of software now increasingly are building in AI. Many of them are building in ChatGPT behind it, just like Microsoft have done with Bing. Microsoft are also, I believe, they either have or they're building it into Excel, Word, and so on. You're going to see ChatGPT and other models exploding. Okay. Okay. Yes. I did see Facebook user, that might be Raymond Sawyer, I'm guessing. Raymond posted something in our Facebook group about a special one-time offer for something called AI by Codeway. I'm going to guess that probably is Raymond. Hi there, Raymond, if it is. Okay, so Deborah, this is an interesting question, nothing to do with cash flow. Deborah says, I've just got to ask, is anyone a little nervous that we're teaching ChatGPT to replace us? I mean, it seems very efficient, very. Yes, and I was just watching earlier today, it's a 2-hour podcast. Emily, you recommended it to me, by the ex-CEO of Google, I think it was, talking about some really scary stuff coming with AI. And you may know that back in, I think it was March, Elon Musk and a bunch of other people were behind an open letter imploring the industry to have a 6-month moratorium, a 6-month pause on the development of AI models, because they are growing, they are learning at such a fast rate, developing at such a huge rate. And Sam Altman, who's one of the main founders behind OpenAI, that founded ChatGPT, 3 weeks ago, I think it was now, he was in front of Congress in the US talking about and imploring the US to bring in an agency to put some regulations in place. And one of the big things, I think it was Bloomberg, amongst others, reported a few weeks back that ChatGPT and AI is forecast to very soon replace 300 million jobs. And one of the reasons behind wanting to put some regulations in place and to pause it is because too many jobs could be replaced too quickly for society to adjust to that. So Deborah, absolutely, I think it is scary, but equally, as I've seen, the CEO of Google said it actually on that I was watching today. He said it's not going to be AI that replaces us. It's going to be how our competitors use AI. And so I kind of believe that, I think that back in November 2022, when it went public, I think we've opened Pandora's box and there's not a lot we can do about it. The pace of change is absolutely extraordinary right now. And I think my advice is, this is a wave you have to ride. You have to be aware of AI. You have to be aware of large language models like ChatGPT, and use them as a tool to your advantage. Will they replace us? Yes, at some point in time. Whether it's 2 years or 7 years, we don't know. But I think that a lot of our compliance work, particularly completing tax returns, it'll be able to do that. AI will be able to do that automatically at some point in the not too distant future. And so we have to be aware of this space and react to it. And it might mean we have to adapt our service. And one of the things that we could do is we could start to offer more advisory services and using ChatGPT as a tool to do exactly that, just like I've showed you. I personally think it's a huge opportunity. I think it's exciting times. We can look at it both ways. Personally, I'm an optimist, and I think there's some amazing things that we can do with it. We just have to change. We have to adapt. Some accountants and bookkeepers will adapt. They'll be at the leading edge, and some will do nothing, and then they'll be in trouble. I hope that helps. That's just my quick thoughts, Deborah, on that one. And interesting, Emily agrees with me that AI won't replace us. It'll be other people using it. And Deborah goes on to say, like our clients. So I'm not sure what you mean by that, but One of the questions I have seen people say is, I was doing a session last week on how you could use it for business advisory, and I was showing how you could use it to do things like SWOT analysis and analyze financial data, and somebody said, does that mean clients won't need us anymore? And I don't think that's the case because firstly, you have to ask the right questions to get the right outcomes. And so clients don't know the right prompts, the right questions to ask. And also, and I'll talk about this another time, perhaps next week. I think Emily might cover it in her session next week at the Masterclass. One of the things that's critically important is that you must understand the weaknesses of large language models, the weaknesses of ChatGPT, because it's not good at everything. And there's a very real danger that it can give the wrong results, and you could end up getting sued if you don't use it properly. Let me give you an example. And those of you that are in our new Facebook group, which is called AI and ChatGPT for accountants and bookkeepers, perhaps someone could put the link in the chat box if you're not in it. I posted an interesting article from the BBC, I think 2 weeks ago. So you can go and read it, but let me just give you the essence of it. So one of the problems that ChatGPT has, the weakness, is what's called hallucination. In other words, it's a large language model, so it's very clever at predicting what should be the next word in terms of text. But if it doesn't know something, it'll make something up. And it's very convincing. So I used it a month or so ago to help me come up with an itinerary for a vacation. And it's extremely good. But I asked it to recommend some hotels. And it recommended some hotels, and they sounded really good. I said, please describe this. Why this hotel? And then when I'd got my itinerary from it, I went to Google to look at booking the hotels. And yes, the hotels existed, but actually in a completely different part of Portugal. Because it made up the hotel name and the and an address. The address happened to be where I was going, but it wasn't where the hotel was. But the story, the more serious story that was reported recently by the BBC was, and I say, we can dig the link out, it's in the Facebook group. There was a lawyer preparing for a legal case. And I forget what the case was about now, but they were going away, so they delegated to one of their team in the office to create the paperwork, the arguments to present in court. And this person in the office decided to use ChatGPT to create it. Now, in legal circles, a lot of law is case law. It's based on cases. Past cases determine what happens in the future. And so it created these arguments, which included lots of case law. And the lawyer who then was leading in the courtroom took all this work that the assistant had done using ChatGPT. It looked really good. Went to court, and as the lawyer was arguing the various points, the judge and the lawyer on the other side was saying, so what's this case then? And what's this case? And it turned out that most of the cases in the report were just made up by ChatGPT. So that's a long way of answering. Deborah was saying, I think effectively, will clients need us anymore? Yes, they will, because there are weaknesses to ChatGPT. It's a little bit like tax. A little bit of tax knowledge is dangerous. When clients try to think they know tax and they do something themselves, they get it horribly wrong. The bookkeepers amongst you will know that a little bit of bookkeeping knowledge, when clients think they know how to do bookkeeping, they make an incredible mess of it. And it's the same with ChatGPT. You have to know what you're doing. And that's why I implore you to make sure you understand the weaknesses of ChatGPT. Otherwise, there could be negligence cases if you give the wrong advice. Interesting. Emily says only 14% of Americans are using ChatGPT, so make sure you're ahead of the curve. I'm amazed there's a lot of people still not heard of it. Yes, it is. It is Raymond. Hi there, Raymond. I thought it was you. Anybody in the Facebook group, you have to give permission for Facebook to share your name, so I don't get to see it. So I have to guess who you are. So I guessed that one right. And I don't know the answer to that, Raymond. I don't know anything about Ask AI. I know you've said it seems too good to be true because it's a $40 one-off price. My personal view, Emily and I have been researching a lot of tools, apps, plugins, and so on, and we keep coming back to the conclusion that the best tool to use is to use ChatGPT at source. Learn to use it, learn to write great prompts. I'm finding it much more powerful than things that use it in the back end. That's just my thoughts. I love just using ChatGPT and going to the source of it rather than using somebody else's tool. There's lots of apps on the iPhone now. They're okay, but it's the most sophisticated model because they started developing in 2015. Right, we have got 4 minutes left. Linda says, what does Linda say? She usually says intelligent things. It's an opportunity to teach your clients. Information isn't the same as expertise. That's a really good point, Linda. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, let me wrap up with just a quick reminder of the things next week. So remember, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Next Monday is Emily and I will be doing a live stream entirely on ChatGPT, and we'll be sharing 5 really powerful use cases for accounting firms, bookkeeping firms. So don't miss that one. And even more important, don't miss the Business Advisory Masterclass. If you want to, and as you're now perhaps starting to see, AI, it's going to start replacing compliance work. We are going to have to adapt. And I think business advisory is going to become increasingly important over the next few years. And that demo I've just shown you, when you've got a tool like ChatGPT at your disposal, it makes delivering advisory services much easier than ever before. So next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll be going deep on that. So if I could ask perhaps Sarah one more time just to put the link to the page to where you can get your ticket. Remember, it's complimentary. The complimentary tickets end sometime in the next few days. So if you haven't got your ticket, grab it now while they are still free. Caroline says, when is the masterclass? It's actually on screen. It says it's next week. It's the third Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It starts 10:45 Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in the UK, I think that's 3:45. I think it's 3:45 it starts, if I've got my times right. Okay, I think we've got 2 minutes left. I'm going to see if there's any more questions. If there's another question, I will have a look. Let me see what Jessica says. Jessica says, from my brief research, those lifetime ChatGPT products are a third-party integration that still requires your own paid ChatGPT subscription to connect to the API. That's a great point. Yes, Jessica, you probably still have to pay for ChatGPT, which, by the way, for those of you that haven't yet got your account, it's just $20 a month plus tax, which I think works out $23, $24. Well, I don't know how much you value your own time at, but hopefully $50 to $100 an hour. You know, it can save you hours. You just saw very quickly how quickly you could create a sales page for me for a debt collection service or consulting service. It took minutes. And so you can save hours and hours of time every single week. So I think it's a no-brainer to invest in the premium version. Lisa says, I'll just wrap up with perhaps what is my final question, I think. Can we have a link to the new Facebook group for ChatGPT? Oh, Emily's done it. Emily got there. So if you're not yet in the Facebook group, there's a link to it. It's in YouTube at the moment, so those links will need to be posted into Facebook and LinkedIn. Not sure if anyone's here from LinkedIn. Anyway, that's the link. Go and grab that. If you haven't got the link yet in other places, the group is called AI and ChatGPT for accountants and bookkeepers. And it's growing crazy fast. I think we have when you start a few weeks ago, I think we're just about to hit, today I think we'll hit 2,000 members of the group. It's a great place to ask your questions about ChatGPT, about AI, and to share with other people in the community what's working for you. Right, it's on the hour. We have finished. We always finish a hard hour. I didn't think I'd be able to keep going for an hour without my guest. But nevertheless, we hopefully shared something useful. Could you just let me know in the comments what was the thing that you got the most out of today? What was the best thing that you learned? Let me know, because I always read the comments afterwards. Let me know what was the best bit from the last hour. And if you did get some value, please click on that like button, whichever platform you're in. Please do that if you enjoyed it. Okay, as usual, I will play out with some music so I can read the comments. And hopefully I'll see everybody next week, Monday for the live stream, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the Business Advisory Masterclass. See you next week. Bye for now.
wasted all my time, I wasted all my nights, I wasted it on someone who's indifferent. He didn't love me right, he told me I was blind, but I never really wanted to listen. You have been here since day one, see my ups and downs, never left my side once, yeah you stuck around. Who knew it was you? You have been here all along, you have always been the one, yeah who knew it was you? You have always been the one, that's the truth. You have been here all along. I never saw the signs, he didn't treat me right, but I just couldn't let him go. You waited patiently, you waited for me, you showed me what it was to love. You have been here since day one, see my ups and downs, never left my side once, yeah you stuck around. Who knew it was you? You have been here all along, you have always been the one, yeah who knew it was you? You have always been the one, that's the truth. You have been here all along. You have been here all along. You have been here since day one.